guys? Welcome back to the channel. I just purchased the cheapest M235i in the United States. So let's take a deeper look and see what we got. Alright, so now we're sitting inside the car and I'll go over a little bit of the story of how I got to buy this car. So if you're only curious about the car and its condition itself, go and just skip to the timestamp I'll include right here. But if you want to hear a little bit about the story of how I got to buy this car, continue watching and I'll go over that right now. When I first decided to purchase an M235, I had a few little things on my checklist I had to make sure the car had before I was ready to purchase it. Number one, obviously it had to fall within my budget. So I was looking primarily something below $25,000, anywhere in that range. The next thing was black interior. I've always wanted black interior. It's my favorite color for interior. Very basic, very simple, and clean. Coral red interior would have been really cool. It's a really nice color, really makes the car pop, especially with the white exterior. But again, I've always wanted black, something that I think really looks clean, basic, so I couldn't complain when I got a black interior. I also wanted a car that was really well optioned, that including a technology package. I really wanted the technology package. It gives you the larger infotainment screen and the little digital screens in the cluster. I think it looks a lot cleaner, a lot more modern with that installed. And I really wanted to get an M235 with those options factory. Besides those three things, everything else, I mean, obviously there are things that I would have preferred to have, but they weren't deal breakers for me. So I really would have preferred to have a manual in this car, but they are really hard to come by. The one I found near me, I wanted to check it out, is really beat. The manual I ever found was either way too expensive, out of my price range, or it was just beat to heck and something honestly I didn't feel comfortable purchasing. That being said, the ZF 8-speed in this car, I've only heard really good things about it from people who review it, talk about it. Reading on the forums, I know the ZF 8-speed that comes in this car is a really good transmission, reliable, durable, shifts really quick, really sharp, so honestly, an automatic in this car, really not a bad option at all. Along with that, I do put a lot of miles in the car. I drive every day for school, for work, I'm always driving. Also, I'm in Central Florida, very heavy traffic, a lot of tourists in the area. So honestly, maybe an automatic was probably a better decision to begin with. So there was two deal breakers for me that would have prevented me from purchasing the vehicle. One being X-Drive. I live in Florida, it does not snow here, I do not need it. Number two is convertible. I did not want a convertible. I really do not prefer the look of the soft top on this car. I think the hard top looks better, it flows better with the car. And here in the Florida heat, again, I probably would have driven with the top down anyway. So really would have preferred mineral gray as an exterior color. My last car was gray, Barking Graphite Metallic. It's actually very similar to mineral gray, and that's the color I was really going for. I think it really flows well when you accent it with carbon fiber or gloss black. Also would have preferred black or even Astoral blue. White's kind of at the bottom of my list, but again, not a deal breaker. The only deal breaker as far as colors, so I guess you can add that to the deal breakers, been red. I really don't prefer the look of red on this car. It doesn't flow well in my opinion, so that's something I was really trying to stay away from. A few months of looking and this one car popped up at a wholesale dealership near me. Similar to an off-lease only or CarMax where they buy cars wholesale, usually from auctions or something like that, and they sell them for as little as they can. I have a few negative things to say about the dealership, so I will not be naming it in this video, but we go on with the story. So I see they have this Alpine white M235i. I call them up, they still have it in the inventory, so the next day I make my way over there to check it out. Again, the price is really low. I hadn't seen anything within that range for sale anywhere, so I really thought it's worth at least a look. Story short, I took it for a test drive. There were some things that popped up to me as red flags, some things that I wanted to make sure were all right with the car. As far as after the test drive, I go over there, I take the test drive, I check out the car, exterior, interior, and obviously there are a few things that need work cosmetically. So there is a crack in the center console dash trim piece. There's a few scratches over the volume knob and the volume knob itself. A little scuffs on the buttons for picking out the track. With that, the little M logo is gone off the steering wheel. But honestly, those things weren't a huge deal, easy to replace slash fix. So honestly, these things didn't explain why the car was so cheap, so I did want to find out why this car was listed so low. Notice the scuff on the front bumper. I look at the Carfax and I am told that this car was previously in an accident. Right away, that was a huge red flag. I did not want a car that was in an accident. I know I didn't previously mention that in my deal breaker thing, but for the most part, that kind of goes without being said. You don't really want a car that was in an accident. You don't know if it has frame damage or something wasn't reported, etc, etc. I see that on Carfax it says that the damage costs over $1,500. The more I thought about it, that really isn't that expensive for a BMW. Normally a headlight and a bumper alone would cost that much, let alone like suspension components like control arms, tie rods, brakes, discs, things like that. Long story short, I know I'm saying that the second time, but bear with me. I go ahead and purchase the vehicle knowing that they have a 3-day, something like 300 or 400 mile test period, where if you're not happy with the car, you can absolutely return it for free without any hassle or anything like that. So I purchased the vehicle and immediately I set up an appointment to get it inspected within those 3 days. I wanted a full inspection just to make sure bumper to bumper everything was okay as far as hardware and most importantly mechanically. I did not want to deal with any issues, this being a high mileage car that was sold at an auction. I wanted to make sure the engine was alright, the transmission, the differential, there was nothing red flag that it could be going on its way out. So I'll see if I can include a little bit of the clip of me taking it to get the inspection done. I did film a little, I didn't get to film too much because I was really excited, also busy running around, didn't have much time on my hands. So include that, I'll include it right now. A lot has happened, a lot of things have changed. Sorry I'm not looking at the camera, I am driving currently. I'll let you know where I'm going in a minute, but yeah, so right now I am taking this M235. Notice how I didn't say my M235 yet. I'm taking this M235 to auto tuning house here in Winter Springs, Florida, and I'm gonna get it actually checked out head to toe. And the reason I'm doing that is because I might have bought it, so I guess it is mine, but I do have the option of returning it for the next few days. So I want to go ahead and get an inspection done. I want to check out some stuff, anything that could potentially be wrong with the vehicle. They did have their own like third-party inspections done, but you know, you can never trust those, and might as well go to a local shop that people know and trust to check it out for you. Wouldn't cause any harm. So I'm excited. A new addition to the family, a new addition to the channel, and hopefully everything checks out well. I did see some red flags that did kind of, you know, I did kind of like look at like, oh, that could be a thing. So let me go ahead and get to ATH. Let me talk to the guys. Let's get the inspection going, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm here at ATH, and some of the cars out here look epic. I'm not sure, I don't think this belongs to ATH. This one might be Easy Auto Sales, but check out this red M3. Pretty clean, huh? Yeah, buddy. It is beautiful. Man, if I had a garage and a lot of time, I would love to rebuild one of these. What a beautiful car. Got that M3 over there. Some more M3s, E46s. We got an M5 in there. And then my baby. I'm gonna get a full inspection done. Make sure everything's running right. And if it is, it's go time. I'm back in the car. It's back from ATH, and I think we have an M235 on the channel. So time to get the cheesing going. There it is, and we're gonna have some fun. So you do need some simple things like to replace my valve cover gasket. It is leaking a little bit. This thing is decently high mileage, so that's expected, nothing out of the ordinary. It has the wrong coolant, so I also need to replace the coolant. Also, the upper coolant hose is cracking, so I should probably get that replaced pretty soon, and my rotors are gonna need to be replaced pretty soon. So nothing major. A lot of that stuff is like wear items, like, you know, pads and rotors, and valve cover gaskets on these cars, they start leaking eventually. My E90 would literally like piss oil. I replaced the valve cover and gasket on that car on the E90 like 2 or 3 times, and it would always happen again. So I'm gonna take care of this car for the time being, not push it too hard, just to make sure I don't break anything. I also need a new battery. So this is a 2014, and the battery in this car is the original battery that came with the car from the factory. So excuse me, that needs to be replaced ASAP, so I don't have any electrical issues. anything like that, but once that's done, we can have some fun. So before I took it to get the inspection, I did give myself a limit of about $1,500 to take care of anything that might be wrong with the car, not including things that I was going to do no matter what, such as oil change, things like that. Get it back from the inspection, and honestly, I was pretty happy with the results. So let me go over some of the things that need to be done to this car. The battery that's in the car is still the original battery from the factory, so it's about time to change it. If you keep the battery in these cars for that long, they start to die. They can start causing some electrical issues, so that's one thing I needed to replace. It's a little bit pricey. The battery itself is about $200. You need to register the battery to the car in these modern BMWs, so total it'd be about $250. Along with that, you need an oil change, but I was going to do that anyway. I did need a coolant flush. It was the wrong type of coolant. Again, not a huge deal, just the wrong kind of coolant. That would run a little over $100, $200, but that's something I could do myself, so chop the price down quite a bit. Valve cover is leaking a tiny bit. Again, that was something that was going to be really expensive, around $500 if I wanted the shop to do it. But again, there's a lot of DIYs on the internet. I think I'm pretty handy myself. So the valve cover gasket, I can do that myself. And a gasket goes for about $20, $30. So there you go. Besides that, everything was spick and span. The rotors, the brakes will need to be replaced within the next 10,000 miles or so. Not a huge deal, but back to the part where I said this car was in an accident. Knowing that the car was in an accident, I told the guy to go ahead and look under there for me, make sure there's no frame damage, nothing bent or broken that could potentially give me trouble in the long run. When I get the car back, the guy tells me that the car, even though it was in an accident and it was front passenger side, probably wasn't a big deal. The reason the Carfax stated that it was over a $1,500 bill is because they had actually replaced the headlight, and the headlights for these cars, especially if you're going to buy from the dealer, are really expensive. If you look at the car from the front, you can clearly tell that that headlight's new and clear. The driver's side is a little foggy and hazy. They still have the original bumper on this car, so whatever accident it was, it clearly was not a huge deal at all. The car itself was listed for $19,500 with around 70,000 miles on it. Now looking at the history and the Carfax, things like that, the owner lived somewhere in East Florida, somewhere by the beach. Having 70,000 miles, I would assume perhaps that person had a long commute to work, so maybe they had a lot of highway miles going on, because I don't see how you would put 70,000 miles in that car living by the beach in that short amount of time, which honestly is a better sign for me. So that's how I came to buy the cheapest M235 in the US. After taxes, I was a little over 20,000, but listing price was 19.5, 70,000 miles, I think 72 to be exact when I bought it. So yeah. Alright guys, so that's pretty much wraps it up. That's how I came to buy the cheapest M235i in the US. Couldn't find it cheaper anywhere else. I think at one point I did find something a little bit cheaper. It was a private seller, but the car was a manual. The Carfax said it was damaged around every corner, literally every side of the vehicle. It was a manual, and the description said it was never modified, which obviously that is most likely a lie. By the time I was ready to purchase the vehicle, it was no longer, or the listing was no longer up. So could not find anything cheaper no matter where I looked. So this officially, when I was looking, was the cheapest M235i in the United States, and I went ahead and I bought it. So I'm really excited to have this car on the channel. I have a lot of fun things planned, a lot of modifications on the way. If you guys are looking forward to any of that, go ahead and hit subscribe, give it a like if you guys enjoyed the video, and comment down below anything specific you guys might want to see. But that pretty much does it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.